meeting to order. Thank everyone for being here this morning. We'll start with the reading of the minutes from Pat.
January annual congregational meeting, January 9th, 2022. Sherry called the meeting to order at 10:40. Pat read the minutes from the 2021 annual meeting. Rachel made a motion to accept the minutes, seconded by Rob. Voted and carried. Treasurer's report. Neil gave the treasurer's report showing a balance of $27,750.24 as of 12/31/21. Barbara Arnold account balance of $13,871.95. Memorial account $24,655.43. Special account $13,870. Neil reported that a CD came due in December for $10,900. He renewed it for 6 months. Tracy made a motion to approve the treasurer's report, seconded by Jerry. Voted and approved. Trustees report. Wes reported that a new garbage disposal had been installed in the kitchen, a new air conditioner for the south side of the church. They moved the food pantry and did some cement work on the sidewalks. Christian Ed report. Rachel reported that they had Sunday school material for 1st and 3rd grades, Bible school for children through 6th grade, summer breakfast with hosts again. Family camp was in October, which was well attended. Michael taught the adult golf order using the book Faithful Presence. Lois taught 1st through 3rd. Jen Miller taught 2nd through 6th. Laurel Junior High and Diane High School. Hope Scholarship report. Pat reported that she had given three $300 scholarships this year. Interest received was $49.11. Balance as of 12/31/21 was $407.61. She received a check from Carl Reschley's Memorial for $685. January 6th, bringing the balance up to $1,092.61 as of 1/9/22. Deacons report. Sherry wanted to thank everyone for giving her the opportunity to serve on the board. Enjoyed working with everyone on the board. The pandemic made it much harder to communicate with everyone. Pastors report. Michael said with all the uncertainty in the world makes it a lot of anxiety for things that happen. He wants to talk more seriously about making things more predictable. He wants to draw on the good things in 2022, challenging everyone to do their part instead of looking to others. He wants to teach the gospel. He was very thankful for his ordination. New business. Sherry turned the meeting over to Carl, who was chairman of the nominating committee. Carl said it had been a learning experience and thanked those who are willing to serve. He presented the ballot for 2022. The position for deacon was not filled. Also, the nominating committee. Sherry stated that the board discussed this at the December board meeting, and it was decided to have the outgoing officers of trustee, Christian Ed, and worship committee to serve on the nominating committee for the next year. Chad McClanahan volunteered to serve as deacon. Everyone gave him a very positive affirmation and thank you. Stan asked about the youth group sponsor. Michael said it has been tabled at this time. Most of the youth group are attending the Sugar Creek Youth Group at this time. We plan to have some activities on Sunday mornings when the youth are here in our church. Jay made a motion to accept the ballot, seconded by Renee. Ballot was approved for 2022. Nominating committee, Sherry Janacek, Wes Renner, Jenny Undermeer, and Tracy Robb. Deacon, Chad McClanahan. Trustee, Ty Renner. Treasurer, Neil Reichenbach. Assistant Treasurer, Stan Meyer. Education Committee, Diane Renner. Crooked Creek Rep, Alicia Pasha. Worship Committee, Laurel Schwarzenegger. Ushers, Simeon Reichenbach and Joel Meyer. Social Committee, Donna Renner. Historian, Janet Peterson. Our World Mission, Jay Meyer. Hope Scholarship, Veronica Slagle. Parkview Rep, Kelly Slagle. Stan made a motion to make Gary Rose chairman of the board and Jay seconded, approved. Renee made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Tracy. Meeting adjourned at 11:17. Sherry Janacek, Chairman, Pat Myers, Secretary.
Are there any additions, clarification, changes? If not, I entertain a motion to accept. Eugene? We'll just do this by voice. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes. Thank you. We'll do the treasurer's report.
I didn't make enough copies, I don't think, so you're gonna have to share amongst yourselves. I know, it's all right. You can look at my notes. Chicken scratch, you can read them.
I'll just slide over here. I'll just slide over here.
Okay, I'm just gonna come up here because I can hold my papers this way. I'm gonna start with just kind of a review of what our accounts are. Because I remember, not being on the board or being treasurer, just like, what are all these accounts? So that's how I'm gonna start. So, and might not need that, but we're gonna do it anyway. So the Barbara Arnold account is the farm account, and that is the account that the faithful followers used to manage, but now it's more of a managed by the church, I guess, and we just rent that land out. So that's what our funds come to, or that's how we get our funds in that account. And it comes to about, $20,000 and, between $20,000 and $21,000 from rent income. And that's the account that we give all our grants with, our 4 grants of $5,000, amounts to $20,000 a year. So that's the Barbara Arnold account. The memorial account is just as it says, it's the money we get from memorials. And the memorial account and the special account were both started back in 2004, I think is what I saw. At least that's the last date on my computer. Actually, it's gone back probably longer than that, but the memorial account is just money we get from memorials, and of that balance, which is right there, $21,887.92, $10,000 of that is earmarked for maintenance on chimes. But some of the things we've spent over the last 5, 6, 7 years, or we bought new chairs, we got a new air conditioner, and then just some personal donations went out of that. The special account is just a kind of a general account that we put we got some funds from Dally Leak. The biggest amounts came from the Dally Leak DCD and an Ellen Clark Memorial. Right now in that account, there is a balance of $52,795.54. But of that amount, we just received our grant within the last couple months. And this is the grant for the sabbatical. And that's in the amount of $38,988. And that money is supposed to go to funding part of the grant for Michael, and also to help the church pay for, if we have somebody come in to preach, it's helped to pay for some of that and just kind of, I guess, help the church operate, is my understanding of that. Over the last 6, 7 years, some of the money that went out of that account, again, some personal donations, and I kind of have those in parentheses, and then also new air conditioner and some like devotional. Ellen Clark wanted some of her money to go towards devotionals in the library. So that came out of that account. In 2016 or 17, we decided that money sitting in that savings account wasn't accumulating much interest. So at that point, we formed a CD. And it started at $10,000 and now, today, it's $10,926.57. Is what that's worth. And we still have that. We just renewed that for another, I think, a year. Now, as far as the general account goes, the balance last December, as read in the minutes, and it's there, was $27,750.24. And the balance this year in December 31st was $4,685.48. So you can see we've dropped quite a bit of money as far as our general fund goes. The total expenses and total income is down there. I kind of got them, I got an error there. I got those mismarked, but our total income was $107,772.93. And the breakout of that is on the first page of your, the banking summary. So most of it was offering, but then we had a little bit of money from use of church. We transferred some money from the memorial account to help pay for an air conditioner. And there's a little bit of interest and then reimbursement money that came in. We overpaid for some insurance or something, stuff like that. So the total income for the year was $107,772.93. And the total expenses were $130,837.69. And that number is on the bottom of your banking summary list. So we had quite a we spent more than we took in this year. So that's kind of a bad trend. And it just, take this for what it's worth. We've got about 42 giving units in our church. So if everybody was going to give the same amount, our budget for this year is $132,892. So if every giving unit was to give the same amount of money, that'd be about $3,000 per giving unit. Again, take that what it's worth, but it just kind of gives you an idea of, what it's going to take if we're going to, spend our budget. The good news is Wayland Mennonite doesn't spend our budget, our full budget. But anyway, that's just some notes I jotted down. I don't have a whole lot of specifics. This is just a banking summary. I just want you all to know you're sure welcome to approach me with any kind of questions you have. We've got pretty, if you want to know exactly, how much we spent in utilities each month, we can break that down. Or, what do we spend the improvements and repairs on? You can talk to me and I can get you all that information if you want. So just feel free to ask me anything you want to know if there's any questions about anything. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
Approve the treasurer's report as presented. Jerry? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. So now we'll go through the committee reports. We'll start with trustees.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Trustees, with me is Donna Roth of High Redder. We started the year with the air conditioner, and we did have some problems, but making it work. So we got that in and working. We had church cleaning that was successful. We had church cleaning. We had a leaf cleanup crew that got leaves out, maybe not at the right time, but they're gone. So, and then, we, did the ramp. We widened the ramp and then we put carpet on it. And we're supposed to get carpet out here, but, it was a mishap somehow. So coming next year, this year. And then we carpet, clean the carpet in the, we didn't clean the carpet in the sanctuary, but the foyer and the offices and the basement. We fixed the lighting in the kitchen. There's 2 fouls at the same time. I thought it was, but it was not. And then I would like to, there are many members in this church that I'd like to thank. They see that things need to be done and they do it without question. I'm not going to name them, but if they know who they are. And as a deacon, we appreciate that. A trustee, so that's all I have.
Christian Ed Committee was myself and Jenny Untrenier and Diane Renner this year. We had our first normal operating year meeting in person for the first time since 2019. We are grateful for everyone willing to teach, both the youth and the adult classes. Spring adult class was taught by Kelly Slavel. Our youth continued to use material through the SHINE curriculum. Our numbers were smaller this year. Summer session fellowship with breakfast before church, we did that again, and appreciate everyone who signed up to host breakfasts. Bible school was held June 7th, 8th, and 9th at Sugar Creek. This year was Marketplace, so we needed many volunteers to have a successful week. And for the most part, it was successful. We had one weather day, which was a little difficult, but made it happen. We had a few youth attend Crooked Creek Camp this summer also. And it's also always appreciated by the families that we pay for half of that tuition. Fall adult class was taught by Michael, where they examined the art of questioning and looked at how to engage in discussion around difficult topics. And there was great feedback from those that participated. Sunday school teachers for this year are Lois Kloppenstein for the nursery, and then young, Donna Renner, Laurel Swartzengruber, and Diane Renner. Our junior high class this fall was combined with the high school class due to numbers. And Laurel having lunch. So he just joined Diane. We are grateful for all of you who give time to our church youth. Church camp weekend was October 1st and 2nd. Family night on Saturday had about 25 in attendance. We're grateful to Wes for providing the hayride again this year. And we mixed things up with a nacho bar for dinner. We did ask people to bring desserts, and that was wonderful and so appreciated. Christmas program was a joint effort with Sugar Creek on the 18th. There was a children's choir, adult choir, special music. Big thanks to the worship committee for planning that this year. And finally, winter adult class is a book study over the Bible Unwrapped by Megan Good. Jay and I are leading that book study. Christian Ed would like to thank all who volunteered time to teach Sunday school, provide breakfast, help with Bible school, or support Christian Ed in any way.
Next will be Audra with worship.
The worship committee meets the first Monday of each month in 21-22. And some meetings are held in person and many are Zoom. Each meeting, we highlight the upcoming religious seasons and events, and depending on the seasons, the decor for the church is set up accordingly. We also work on recruitment to fill the forecast, which is the document that Michael has that lists who will be giving a message, worship leader, children's story, chorister, piano, sound, and Zoom. And we also coordinate with other groups such as the deacons, the boards, and Christian Ed through Michael. With that, we coordinated the joint services with Sugar Creek on September 4th, and that was Old Threshers Weekend, and then again on the 18th, which was the Christmas service with the joint choirs and special music selections. And we thank everybody who volunteers to do children's story, chorister, or accompany us, the people who run our sound and Zoom, and those worship leaders. And we just pray that you continue to feel that volunteerism and keep signing up for those positions.
Our world missions.
Stan was supposed to have. that.
Okay. Oh,
So the mission committee of Stan Meyer, Jay Meyer, and Dave Roth met to distribute the grant money from the farm rent. We didn't have many requests. We gave the grants to Parkview Home, the Whitmer family, Ella Janacek, and Gabe Reichenbach, each $5,000. In September, we had Amy McLaughlin from Family Connection put out baskets to collect items for small children.
social committee.
The social committee this year had some different obligations other than just hosting the potlucks. Everything seemed to go well. Plastic tablecloths, plastic silverware, and serve your own drink were used most of the time, still being cautious of the COVID. On February 2nd, we had a potluck for the conference ministers and the JYF. The conference ministers were visiting our churches to work on calendars and resources for the year. Knowing we had 37 JYF kids who were coming that were starved, we were worried about food. We knew none of them would be bringing in the food. We fed 76 that evening, and I don't think anyone went home hungry. That's one of the pluses of Wayla Mennonite. Everyone likes potlucks and everyone likes fellowship. On February 5th, the celebration of life was held at Wayla Mennonite for Tom Coffin. Tom and his wife Sandy were active in the church when their family were growing up and later moved to Troy, Missouri. Since Tom was being buried at Northville Cemetery, they asked the social committee if they would serve cookies, coffee. The family asked that masks be worn because of the pandemic. We sent some treats home with them, but had those that had provided food and not used to take it home with them. We served 40. On June 26th, a reception was held for our very own Laurel Schwarzenegger in her licensing as a hospice chaplain, a suggestion made by the conference. Michael and Laurel furnished all the food. The cake purchased was for 48 guests, along with chocolate dipped strawberries, nuts, and mints. Coffee and water with lemon were the choices for drink. It was a nice service and also a nice reception. On October 2nd, we had an all-church potluck at noon at Crooked Creek Christian Camp. Since none of the committee felt comfortable grilling, as was previously done, even the obligations for the social committee that day for hosting were different. Pulled pork was purchased at Crawford Meat Plant and buns were purchased at Fairway. Christian Ed was in charge of Saturday night and the deacons were in charge of Sunday morning. So anything left from those events was also served at noon. Once again, everyone went home happy and well fed. And might add, Les and Donna were on the committee with Sherry.
Next will be peace and service. Wes?
No,
Historian? Janet?
The membership survey. The membership survey for, as of December 31st, 2022. Dedications were Michael and Laurel Schwarzenegger and Iris Paul Schwarzenegger dedicated on June 26th, 2022. Trent and Megan Waterhouse had Elijah dedicated on September 25th, 22. The baptisms were Lennon McClanahan on February 6th of 22. There were no deaths. Membership gained by transfer, none. Membership lost by transfer, none.
Hope Scholarship?
We have two $90,000 CDs, which amounts to $18,000. We received $168.25 in interest. We also received a check from MYF for $2,500. There were 5 scholarships given of $500 each, which left a balance in the account as of December 31st at $1,352.15. $1,352.15.
Conference report, Robin?
There was a, special delegate conference in Kansas City this past summer. Several people here at church participated on some Wednesday nights prior to that, where we discussed the various resolutions that were going to be up for debate and vote. Over for that, it was a really emotionally draining conference because of the topics that needed to be discussed and voted on. I did think it was really productive. I learned a lot about various other churches in Mennonite USA and how they go about their business, and their beliefs. And it was nice to have Michael there, of course, and Aubrey went as a delegate that did not vote. Chad was there as a guest, and they got to sit in a separate area where they could listen to the discussions that were going on, and kind of talk amongst themselves when we had our individual table discussions as well. And it was nice to have them to talk to afterwards for a little debriefing sometimes of the day. As we look to what the voting would be, there will be another regular conference this summer, also in Kansas City, where there will be some further discussion, I'm sure, on some of those and some of those things that were put to the side. So if you want to know, and I talked a little bit about when we presented the resolutions that were that were passed and what the actual text of all that is, you can see that in the full report. We also had annual meeting. That was in June in Freeman, South Dakota. And Michael was there as well. Aubrey was a youth delegate, and Chad just was registered as a guest, but they pulled him into the tables for discussion, just like a delegate also. So he got to partake in what we've been doing instead of just watching from the sidelines this time. There was no business to be voted on other than the new slate of officers and committees at that particular annual meeting. The focus really was on Bible study, I guess for lack of a better term, and discerning the word through looking at various verses. And again, I had a variety of people at my table from a variety of types of churches. So hearing those different perspectives was really an interesting activity as we went through that.
Crooked Creek, Alicia?
So our church helped collect funds for camp this year. I can't remember what it was going for, but we participated in that. They held their 3rd annual online auction, and they asked each church to provide a basket. So we put together a garden themed basket, and I believe it sold for $103. And I asked Heather if they were pleased with the auction results, and they were. They didn't bring in quite as much as last year, but they were still pleased, and we'll probably hold it again next year.
Parkview report?
I just finished my first year as the Mennonites Parkview Board rep, and there were a lot of good things that happened at Parkview last year. There were also challenges. We were able to begin using our new maintenance shed this past summer. That was appreciated by our maintenance crew. Also, more windows have been installed in an ongoing effort to replace all the old leaky windows that are no longer efficient. Parkview just recently purchased a used minibus that is now being used to take residents to doctor's appointments and things like that. It's also possible now to take groups out on outings, and I guess over the holidays, people's taken to see Christmas lights, and they really enjoyed that. So that was a good addition. A huge project that was undertaken this past year was the replacement of our boilers for the heating. This was a necessary improvement that was both good and bad for Parkview. It's good because we now have a new and reliable system. However, as you may guess, it was very expensive. So we're glad that's done, but we are also hoping there are no other major unforeseen expenses in the near future. A real high note for Parkview the past year has been our consistent occupancy rate. Parkview has maintained occupancy of over 90%. National average is 72 to 73%. And actually, I just received an email from Ron this past week that they had a referral, and if that referral went through, I think we're going to be 100% capacity. So that's almost unheard of. In addition to that, there was a time this past year when every apartment, every duplex was filled. Now currently there are 2 apartments that are open. One's being remodeled, be available to rent. Now that's all good news, but one thing I learned in my first year is that there are challenges facing Parkview that will surely continue into the future. It's a constant struggle to keep Parkview operating. The biggest struggle we face currently is staffing. It's been impossible to hire enough qualified nurses and assistants. And what this means is that you end up using temp agencies to fill the need. That is expensive. And this isn't a problem that's unique to Parkview. Many nursing homes have closed over the past year. The biggest reason being staffing shortages. And the last I heard, which I think was in November, there were 17 buildings closed in Iowa last year. over 300 nationally. And that number is probably higher. Also a little troubling is the fact that Parkview's size places it among the most vulnerable they are. So it's a rather scary time in the industry. There are many good things happening at Parkview, but there are many challenges too. We should not just assume that Parkview will always be there. That sounds like a strong statement, but I think it's reality that we need to face. Parkview needs community support as much as ever. So please, in the coming year, just remember Parkview in whatever ways you're able to.
For my report for deacons, first of all, I'd really like to thank Renee and Chad. They've been a great support and help, but usually it's one of us comes up with an idea and we let Renee or Chad take it. So it's been, and Michael has been a great support, helping guide us as well, and the rest of the board. So I'd like to thank all of you for your help this past year. It really has been a great experience for me. The past year, probably one of the more important things we did was set the calendar for communion and potlucks, both very important to the church, I think. Just both of those binding us together and fellowshipping with one another. In February, we had some of the conference ministers here who, if you remember, we broke into small groups and kind of discussed some different ideas for the community and the church. Well, we did something with Mike. We did the Lilly Grant, which was a very exciting time. It was very, it was a good time for us to look inwards as a church, but also look outward at different opportunities that this would present to us, and obviously for Michael. It will really give us a great learning opportunity all around. That took a lot of time and a lot of help from Michael, from the board, from you, as we sent in our reports and we're awarded that scholarship or that grant. And that will be a very exciting time coming up. In June, we have reached out to the conference for Laurel as a hospice pastor and had her ceremony. That was a great opportunity for us there. We also renewed Michael's covenant of understanding for another 3 years. That had a lot of input, again, from deacons, board, and congregation. And then in November, Renee, Chad, and Michael attended a conference leadership meeting. The last thing is we are starting to work through the conference with Lower Deer Creek as our sister church, West Union. We were meeting, I'm mixing and matching. West Union, obviously Michael has really been instrumental in that. But to help the conference churches sort of get to know each other as well. And so there's some opportunities coming up with that. But again, I just would like to say thank you to everyone who made this a great time for me this last year as head deacon, and 3 years.
So as you heard in the minutes from last year, one of the things I really wanted to focus on this past year, 2022, was kind of the consistency, kind of the long term. What are the kind of the regular operations that need to continue? So I spent a lot of time doing kind of some long term planning, structural things. Meeting with committees, and like Janet alluded to, there were some differences that the committees were taking on. That's largely what I'm gonna do in the first couple months here of the new year with new committees and new representatives is to meet with everybody, kind of touch base, not only about what this year is going to look like, but through sabbatical, as well as just kind of rearranging some things to make sure every committee is kind of pulling their own weight and really understands what their role is in supporting the life of this church. So it's going to be a lot of continuing work, but I think it'll be some good work and kind of some structural things, more systemic things to be focusing on as a congregation. I want to recognize that winter kind of sucks. I feel it every year. It feels like, right as it starts to get cold, we're looking at the budget, and that kind of, it raises a little anxiety. And then we get through the Christmas season, and that's all sorts of busy and all sorts of emotions tied with that. And then we get into the beginning of the year, and we get to annual meeting, and we talk about filling church positions, and there's anxiety around that. And then we just have this long stretch where it feels like everybody's just antsy. And I recognize that, I see that happen every year. And I hear the complaints and the grumbles and feel it with the season. And then it seems like spring comes and everybody's like, oh, okay, spring. So just to let you know, I'm right there with you. I understand, and I've been looking at and studying some of the systemic things that happen within churches, generational differences, mentalities, community relations and outlooks, political influences, all the things that are tying into kind of how we are feeling as a congregation. What is the pulse and the blood pressure of our congregation throughout the year? And so I'm working on some of those things here in the beginning of the year too. How do we look towards our longevity, look ahead, and try to propel some of those things, some of those structures that we set up in the last year, and try to move forward as a congregation and really get that renewed sense of vision and excitement. As Gary said, we worked on my covenant of understanding. It's a 3-year contract essentially that we signed beginning in December. And I was talking with somebody last night and just kind of recognized, I recognize this might be my last 3-year full-time contract with the congregation. I'm making preparations for that eventuality, and I'm working on making that a reality for the church as well. Not saying I'm leaving, I'm saying there's other things in the work that when the reality changes for the church, which it will, which is in our future, I'm preparing myself to be ready to be there with you and to walk with you wherever this journey takes us. So just want us all to take a deep breath, and as we feel our anxieties rise kind of as we head into the winter, as we head through the rest of this meeting and the next few weeks and the committee changes and everything, and we look ahead to the new year, just remember to take the time to breathe and to recognize that we're all working through all these things all together.
The next part, I have Sherry come forward, and we will take a look at the election of office.
While they're passing out the ballots, the nominating committee this year was Jean Roth and Alicia Pasha, Wes Renner, Tracy Roth, and myself. And the first time that we met, I think, was in September, the first part of September. And so it's been a process. I'll wait until you get your ballots. So as you can see, there are three spaces that are not filled. The nominating committee with one member, the education committee, because someone resigned on the education committee, and the deacon. So according to the Constitution, all positions are to be filled at this meeting. And we have 3 blanks. So it's been, it's just been. Anyway, late last night, I reached out to Gary to see if he would be willing to extend his position as deacon for at least 1 year, because we have a lot going on this year with my sabbatical and just lots of things. And Gary agreed that he would be willing to do that, to extend his position. So in order to do that, we would have to change the Constitution, which means that we would have to meet again in 3 weeks to approve an amendment to do that. And that day would be January 29th to vote on that and the other remaining positions. So that's where we're at.
Sherry, I'll take that 1 year first, Christian, and I'll stay on for a year. Diane and I will share it.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel will stay on for the 1 year position of Christian. And there's other things that we're going to have to put on this ballot. But so first of all, we need to vote if we're gonna have a meeting on the 29th. Is that correct, Michael? So I would need a motion to have a meeting to vote on the remaining 3 positions on January 29th. Okay, so Renee made a motion to have a meeting on January 29th to fill the remaining 3 positions. Can I have a second? Jean will second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, motion carried. Thank you. So now we need to decide what that amendment should be. Is Gary's extension for 1 year? Or
3 years?
the whole time? 3 years, Gary.
I will do whatever the congregation.
Let's go for 3 years then.
Are you willing to do this? He said he will do 3 years unless someone else feels led to be a deacon. So if Gary is doing that, so then it just goes to Renee to be the head deacon, because we don't have to deal with that question. Okay, but we would have to deal with who will chair the nominating committee if you're going to be a deacon, right? So someone would have to chair the nominating committee. Because there's no outgoing deacon. I mean, he could, but he. Huh? Well, and we still need one more person for the nominating committee, or, well, that's a different question down the road here. If you're on the ballot already, so you'll stay there as chairing the nominating committee? Okay. All right. Okay.
So all we need to do is fill one more position on the nominating committee and change the thing, and we're done. Is that correct?
Well, so we have to figure out who would be the senior member of the Christian Ed, so I'm assuming it would be
It will be me.
you again,
It will
Rachel?
be me, but Diane and I will share the duties of going to board meeting.
Okay,
Because there are a number of Mondays I cannot make it because of the boys. So that way we'll make sure someone is there on those days.
okay,
So I will be the head. She
Okay.
will be the body.
yes, okay, okay, got it. Good way to put it,
We
Rachel.
can be two co-heads. Whatever you call that, I-headed, I don't know.
Dual,
Dual, that's nice.
yeah,
That's good.
okay. All right,
And co-head. Yeah. That's great.
okay, so we still have to vote on that the 29th, right, Michael, because that's the, okay. So also with that, since we're voting on changing the Constitution, do you want to make an amendment that the nominating committee be 4 members? Or,
Yes.
yes? Okay. Permanently? Yes, okay. All right, that will be on the ballot as well. Are there any other amendments to the ballot that we need to make? Do you want to vote Rachel in today or the 29th? Is that what you're saying, Michael?
I would motion to amend the ballot.
Okay. So Michael motioned to amend the ballot to put Rachel on the 1-year term for Christian Ed, and Renee seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Okay,
Something we could consider. Is making Christian Ed 2 members versus 3.
while we are voting on amendments.
And that's something up for discussion, but I honestly think 2 can do that job. The only issue then is that you have I don't know how that works then. That may be a waterfall issue, so.
Should we talk about that within the next week? And just vote on that separately?
I think so, but I think it's worth talking about. And make them maybe 2-year terms instead of 3. And that way you will have more people available.
Okay.
So, yes, I think it's worth discussing, but I think you're right. I think thinking on that, what it looks like is important. Well, and maybe that starts, since my term is just a one-year position, maybe that starts after, you know, to go into effect, so that next year you don't elect someone and it stays Diane and Jen.
Jen.
And then it's not retro, what is it? Right, moving forward, it becomes 2. So that the
Okay.
next 2024, it moves to 2, and it's the 2 remaining members, and 1 falls off. Away.
Yeah,
Okay.
because then it would be me that would fall off.
Right.
Then it'd still be in and we don't.
Well, you would be the head.
Yep.
I would fall off.
Yep.
You would be the head, and then Jen, and we don't fill another position until 2025.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll vote on that in 3 weeks as well. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so we need to have a motion to approve the ballot as amended today so that we can vote on this today. So can I have a motion? Donna, motion to approve that. Can I have a second? Whole bunch of seconds. Audra, second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Okay, so now we vote on this ballot today. Do you want just, are you gonna hand, or are you gonna mark them? Or do you want to mark your ballots and have somebody pick them up, or do you just want to raise your hand to approve the ballot? Okay, so can I have a show of hands if you approve the ballot as amended today? Okay, it's unanimously approved today. Thank you for everyone for your willingness to serve. And we will have another meeting on the 29th of January to approve the amendments and the other. Okay, thank you very much.
We have just one more item that we need to do, which is the appointment of a temporary board chair. Usually that will be the senior deacon. Who will be your name. I have a motion and second. I have Renee as the temporary board chair. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Congratulations. Is there any more business? I want to thank everyone. Thank you, everyone, for all your help and work.
Let's pray. God, we thank you for the continued work of this congregation, for the dedication of those filling positions who have fulfilled their offices, and for those who are thinking seriously and putting time and energy into the realities of what it means to be your structured body here. We ask that you bless this meal of fellowship to the nourishment of our bodies, bless the hands that have prepared it, and bless our time together. Pray these things in your name. Amen. I motion to adjourn.
Yes.
A couple of vigorous seconds. All those, I should say, all those opposed of adjourning and going to lunch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.